The sun was shining bright over Maplewood Estates, a quiet neighborhood filled with tall trees, well-trimmed lawns, and houses that looked almost the same. On the surface, everything seemed peaceful. But behind the closed doors and smiling faces, there were unspoken rules, whispers of judgment, and one woman who always made sure everyone followed her version of the rules. Her name was Karen Miller. She was the head of the HOA. She saw herself as the protector of the neighborhood, but most people simply saw her as controlling, rude, and quick to start drama. And on this particular Saturday afternoon, she found her newest target. Across the street, Jasmine Carter, a 29-year-old black woman, had just moved into the neighborhood with her husband. She was unloading groceries from the car, humming softly to herself. Jasmine was kind, warm, and always smiling, but she was also strong, with a quiet confidence that came from being a teacher who had faced all kinds of people. As she carried a bag of fruit toward her porch, she noticed Karen walking straight toward her, fast and tense, holding a clipboard. Karen's sharp voice cut through the calm air. "Karen, excuse me." "Yes, you. What do you think you're doing?" Jasmine turned, surprised but still polite. "Jasmine, good afternoon. I'm just carrying my groceries inside. Is there a problem?" Karen squinted her eyes as if Jasmine's presence itself was the problem. "Karen, actually, yes. You can't just park your car in the street like that. This neighborhood has rules. Didn't you read the HOA handbook?" Jasmine blinked. She had been in the neighborhood for less than a week. "Jasmine, oh, I didn't know. I just stopped for a few minutes to unload. I'll move it right after this." But Karen wasn't satisfied. She stepped closer, her tone harsher. "Karen, that's not good enough. People like you can't just come in here and think you can do whatever you want." Jasmine froze at those words. People like you. She felt a sting, not just from the words, but from the look in Karen's eyes. Still, Jasmine stayed calm. "Jasmine, ma'am, I said I'll move the car. There's no need for this to get heated." But Karen wanted it heated. She always did. She thrived on power. "Karen, don't you dare talk back to me. I'm the head of the HOA. I keep this neighborhood in order. If you can't follow the rules, maybe this isn't the right place for you." Jasmine sighed, holding on to her grocery bag tightly. She wasn't about to start an argument in the middle of the street. She turned to go inside. That's when it happened. Karen pulled something out of her bag. A small black can. Before Jasmine could react, a sharp spray hit her face. Psst! Jasmine screamed, dropping her groceries. The pain burned her eyes, her skin, her lungs. "Jasmine, ah! What are you doing? Stop, please!" Her vision blurred. Tears poured from her eyes. She stumbled, trying to wipe her face. Her hands shook as fear gripped her chest. Karen stood there, holding the can like a weapon, her voice cold. "Karen, maybe now you'll learn your place." Neighbors peeked from their windows. Some whispered, some gasped, but no one came outside. The street was quiet, except for Jasmine's cries. She crawled toward her door, coughing, desperate to get inside. Her heart pounded as she thought, why? Why is this happening to me? Finally, she managed to reach the door and push it open. Her body trembled. Her eyes burned so badly she could barely see. She collapsed onto the floor. And that's when the sound of boots echoed across the hallway. Her husband, Lieutenant David Carter, had just come home. Dressed in his army uniform, his strong presence filled the doorway. He froze when he saw his wife on the ground, crying in pain. "David." "Jasmine? Baby, what happened?" She choked on her words. "Jasmine, Karen, she sprayed me. I can't see. David, it hurts." David's eyes darkened. His chest rose with anger, but his voice was steady and low, the way only a trained soldier could be when standing at the edge of rage. "David, stay right here. I've got you." He gently helped Jasmine up, guiding her toward the bathroom to rinse her eyes. His hands were firm but tender, his face tight with controlled fury. Then, after making sure she was safe, David turned back toward the door. His jaw clenched. His fists curled. Outside, Karen was still standing on the street with her pepper spray in hand. She had no idea who she had just messed with. "If you were standing there, seeing what Karen just did, what would you do? Would you stay quiet or would you step in? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your voice." David stepped outside. His tall frame and army uniform commanded instant respect. The neighbors who had been peeking quickly ducked out of sight. He marched across the yard, his boots hitting the pavement with a sound that made Karen's fake confidence falter. For the first time, Karen's smirk disappeared. She hadn't expected Jasmine's husband to show up, let alone a man who carried the discipline and authority of a U.S. Army officer. David, calm but sharp. "Did you just pepper spray my wife?" Karen stammered, her voice shaky now. "Karen, she wasn't following the rules. I was just protecting the neighborhood." David took one step closer, towering over her. "David, protecting the neighborhood? By attacking an innocent woman unloading her groceries?" Karen's face turned pale. The can in her hand suddenly felt heavy. "David, listen very carefully. You don't touch my wife. You don't threaten her. You don't even breathe in her direction. Do I make myself clear?" Karen opened her mouth, but no sound came out. David leaned in, his voice low but full of steel. "David, you picked the wrong family." The neighborhood was silent, yet the tension was loud enough to feel in the air. David stood face to face with Karen, his eyes sharp, his body rigid, the weight of his uniform reminding everyone watching that this was not just any man. This was a soldier, a protector. Karen swallowed hard. For the first time in years, her authority as HOA president felt small, almost meaningless. But instead of backing down completely, her pride pushed her to keep speaking. "Karen, look, I didn't mean to hurt her. I was just enforcing the rules. That's my job. If she would have listened—" David, cutting her off, "Your job? Your job is not to assault people. My wife was unloading groceries. That's all. And you pepper sprayed her. Do you even understand how dangerous that is?" Karen tried to defend herself, but her voice wavered. "Karen, it's just pepper spray. It's not like I shot her." David's jaw tightened. His voice dropped, controlled but furious. "David, that sentence right there tells me everything I need to know about you." Inside the house, Jasmine sat on the couch with a towel over her eyes. The burning was easing up, but her heart still raced. Every time she blinked, she saw the flash of that spray. Every time she breathed, she remembered Karen's words. "People like you can't just come in here." Her hands trembled. She wanted to be strong, but she couldn't hold back the tears. "Jasmine," to herself. "Why? Why does it always have to be like this?" A soft hand rested on her shoulder. It was Mrs. Rodriguez, their elderly neighbor. She had seen everything from her porch and finally decided enough was enough. "Mrs. Rodriguez, Mija, you didn't deserve that." "Not one bit. Some people here, they think they own everyone. But you listen to me. You hold your head high. You don't let her break your spirit." Jasmine sniffled, whispering, "Jasmine, she hates me. She doesn't even know me." Mrs. Rodriguez shook her head gently. "Mrs. Rodriguez, people like her. They see the color of your skin before they see your heart. But you have a good heart. That will shine brighter, trust me." Meanwhile, outside, David was done arguing. He pointed at Karen, his voice steady, commanding. "David, you're going to hear from the police, and the HOA board, and me if you ever come near my wife again." Karen tried to laugh it off, but her voice cracked. "Karen, oh please, the police won't do anything. I run this neighborhood. Everyone listens to me." David didn't even flinch. "David, not anymore." He turned and walked back to his house, his boots echoing against the pavement. Karen stood frozen, her false sense of power slipping away as neighbors peeked out their blinds. For the first time, people weren't looking at her with respect. They were looking at her with disgust. That night, Jasmine lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Her eyes were still red, but the deeper wound was emotional. She whispered to David, "Jasmine, what if this keeps happening? What if she makes life here miserable? Maybe we should leave before it gets worse." David took her hand, his grip strong and reassuring. "David, no, we're not running. We fought too hard to get here. This is our home now. And I promise you, I won't let anyone take that from us." Jasmine wanted to believe him. His words were steady, but fear lingered in her chest. She had seen women like Karen before. They didn't just stop. They always came back for more. The next morning, the HOA had an emergency meeting. Word of the pepper spray incident had already spread across the neighborhood. Some people defended Karen. Others whispered that she had finally gone too far. David attended with Jasmine, even though she was nervous. The room was full of neighbors, some staring with curiosity, others with guilt for not stepping in the day before. Karen sat at the head of the table, acting like nothing had happened. She cleared her throat. Karen, let's begin. First order of business, we need to address yesterday's misunderstanding. David stood immediately, his presence commanding the room. David, misunderstanding? Is that what you call assault? My wife is still recovering from what you did. The room fell silent. Karen shifted in her seat, trying to keep control. Karen, I was just following the rules. She parked in the street. That's against HOA policy. I was within my rights to act. David's voice rose, deep and powerful. David, your rights? You don't have the right to attack innocent people. My wife is not a criminal. She's a teacher. She gives her life to help children every day. And you, what do you give this community besides fear? Gasps echoed through the room. Neighbors exchanged glances. Even the ones who once backed Karen now looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Rodriguez from the back. He's right. We all saw it. Enough is enough. This isn't about rules. This is about power. What do you think should happen to Karen after this meeting? Should she lose her HOA position? Should she face legal charges? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This story is only heating up. Karen's face flushed red. She slammed her fist on the table. Karen, this is ridiculous. You're all turning against me? After everything I've done for this neighborhood? David leaned forward, his voice calm but piercing. David, you did this to yourself. You pepper-sprayed an innocent woman. And now you want to pretend like you're the victim? Not this time. The HOA board murmured among themselves. Papers shuffled. Finally, one of the members spoke. Board member, Karen, I think we need to vote, effective immediately. You are suspended from your duties as HOA president until further review. Karen's eyes widened. Karen, what? You can't do this to me. But the decision was made. For the first time, Karen's grip on power was slipping through her fingers. Jasmine felt a small spark of hope inside her chest. It wasn't over, not yet, but it was a start. And David? He sat back, watching Karen's world crumble, knowing deep down that justice was only beginning. For the next few days, the neighborhood felt different. For the first time in years, Karen wasn't marching up and down the streets with her clipboard. She wasn't banging on doors about grass height, mailbox colors, or trash cans left out too long. But peace never lasts long when someone like Karen loses power. Jasmine sat on the porch one afternoon, sipping tea, still healing from the trauma. The burns on her skin were gone, but the memory stayed sharp. She jumped a little every time she heard footsteps on the sidewalk. David sat next to her, protective, keeping an eye on everything. His presence made her feel safe, but even he knew Karen wouldn't give up so easily. And he was right. Late that night, a loud bang echoed against their house. Jasmine bolted upright in bed, her heart racing. David rushed to the window and saw something spray-painted across their garage door. The red letters glared back under the moonlight. Go back where you came from! Jasmine gasped, tears welling in her eyes. Jasmine. David. Oh my God. David clenched his fists, anger boiling inside. He stormed outside, scanning the street. No one was there. Just the silence of neighbors too scared to step out. Jasmine followed, her voice trembling. Jasmine, it has to be her. Who else would do this? David nodded slowly. David, it's her. And she just made her biggest mistake yet. The next morning, the neighborhood buzzed with whispers. Everyone saw the graffiti. Some looked guilty for staying silent. Others finally admitted what they knew all along. Karen had crossed a line that couldn't be ignored. But Karen? She was standing at her window, sipping coffee like nothing happened. When Jasmine walked past her house, Karen smirked and mouthed the words, "Prove it." Jasmine's stomach turned. She wanted to scream, to cry, to fight back. But before she could speak, David rested a hand on her shoulder. David, don't waste your breath on her. We'll handle this the right way. That evening, David made some calls. First to the police, then to a lawyer, and then to his commanding officer. He knew this was no longer just a neighborhood dispute. It was harassment. Inside, Jasmine sat with her laptop, searching online for support groups and stories like hers. She found so many women, so many families who had faced the same thing. It gave her strength. She wasn't alone. She whispered to herself, Jasmine, She can try to scare us, but she can't break us. 2 days later, Karen struck again. This time, Jasmine was driving home from school when she noticed Karen's car following her. Block after block, turn after turn, the car stayed behind. Jasmine's palms grew sweaty as she gripped the wheel tighter. Finally, Jasmine pulled into her driveway. Karen pulled up right behind her, blocking the road. She stepped out of her car, her face twisted with fake concern. Karen, "Oh, Jasmine, I just wanted to check in, to see if you've adjusted to the neighborhood yet." Jasmine's voice shook, but she stood tall. "Jasmine, stop following me. Leave me alone." Karen leaned against her car, crossing her arms. "Karen, or what? You gonna call your army husband again? Let me tell you something, sweetie. Men like him, they're gone half the time. Overseas, deployments, missions, and when he's gone, it'll just be you, alone. And trust me, this neighborhood doesn't want you here." Jasmine's eyes burned with tears, but she didn't back down. "Jasmine, you think you can scare me? You think you can bully me into leaving? Not happening. This is my home too." Karen chuckled darkly, whispering as she stepped closer. "Karen, we'll see." David's voice boomed from the porch. "David, step away from my wife now." Karen froze. She hadn't realized he was home. His presence once again shattered her false confidence. David stormed down the steps, his eyes locked on her. "David, this ends tonight. I don't care who you think you are, but you will not stalk, harass, or threaten my wife again. Do you understand me?" Karen sneered, trying to mask her fear. "Karen, you can't touch me. I've got connections. This is my neighborhood. You'll regret messing with me." David took a step closer, lowering his voice to a razor-sharp whisper. "David, no, Karen, you are the one who's going to regret this." "And if you were in Jasmine's shoes, how would you handle Karen's stalking? Would you confront her? Call the police? Or gather evidence quietly? Comment your thoughts. I want to hear your side." That night, David installed cameras all around the house. Every corner, every angle. If Karen tried anything else, they would have proof. But deep down, Jasmine wondered if cameras would be enough. Karen wasn't just a neighbor with too much power. She was obsessed. Obsessed with control. Obsessed with destroying them. As Jasmine lay in bed, she whispered, "Jasmine, David, what if this never ends?" David pulled her close, kissing her forehead. "David, it will. I promise you." Bullies like her, they always fall. And when she does, it'll be hard. Trust me. But outside, in the shadows, Karen stood by her window, staring at their house. Her smile was eerie, almost chilling. She whispered to herself, "Karen, they think they can take me down? Oh, they have no idea what's coming." The night air in Maplewood Estates was heavy with silence. For weeks, Karen's presence had lingered like a shadow over the Carter family. Spray-painted hate, stalking, intimidation. She had turned their dream home into a battlefield. But David had been patient, calculated, watching, recording, and soon it would all come crashing down. One Thursday evening, Jasmine returned from work and parked her car in the driveway. She felt the cameras. David installed above the garage watching her, a small comfort. As she carried her school bag, she froze. On the porch sat a package. No return address, no name, just a plain brown box. Her stomach knotted. Jasmine, calling inside. "David! There's something here. I didn't order this." David stepped out, scanning it with suspicion. Carefully, he opened the box. Inside was a single item, a cheap plastic doll, its face smeared with red paint, its clothes ripped. Jasmine covered her mouth, horrified. "Jasmine, she's threatening me again." David's jaw locked. He picked up the doll, holding it like evidence. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned. "David, good. Let her keep making mistakes. Every move she makes now is one step closer to her downfall." That same night, Karen made another move. Around midnight, she crept across the street, a hoodie pulled over her head. In her hand was a can of spray paint. She crouched near the Carter's fence, whispering under her breath. "Karen, let's see them smile after this." She began to spray another slur on the wooden boards. What she didn't realize was that every second was being caught on David's cameras. Clear as day. Inside the house, David's phone pinged with an alert. He looked at the live feed. His eyes narrowed. "David, got you." Minutes later, red and blue lights lit up the neighborhood. The wail of sirens shattered the silence as police cars pulled up to the Carter house. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains, gasping as officers marched across the lawn straight toward Karen. She froze mid-spray, her hands stained with red paint. "Officer? Ma'am, drop the can. Step away from the fence." Karen's voice trembled with fake outrage. Karen: "What? No, I was just cleaning up. They're the problem. They don't belong here." But the cameras didn't lie. David stepped outside holding his phone. He tapped the screen and the footage played. The video of Karen sneaking over, spray paint in hand, her crime undeniable. David's voice was sharp, full of righteous fury. "David, you wanted power? Here's the truth. Everyone can see what you really are." Karen was handcuffed on the spot. The neighbors who had once stayed quiet now stepped outside, watching as the so-called HOA queen was led into the back of a police car. Jasmine stood beside David, her hand in his. For the first time in weeks, she felt like she could breathe. Tears welled in her eyes, but this time they were from relief. Jasmine, whispering, "It's over. It's finally over." David looked down at her, his voice steady. "David, no, it's just beginning. Now the whole world will know what she's done." The very next day, news crews showed up. The story spread fast. HOA president arrested for harassing neighbor, spray painting racial slurs. Microphones, cameras, reporters, all lined up outside the Carters' home. Jasmine was nervous, but David encouraged her to speak. With trembling hands, she faced the cameras. Her voice cracked at first, but soon her strength poured out. "Jasmine, we moved here for peace, for community. Instead, we were attacked, humiliated, harassed, simply because of the color of my skin. But we refused to be silent. We refused to be driven out of our home. And I want everyone watching to know, if this can happen here, it can happen anywhere. And the only way it stops is if we all stand together against hate." The crowd grew quiet. Her words cut deeper than any headline. David stepped forward, his uniform crisp, his presence commanding. "David, I fought for this country. I've stood on battlefields overseas, but no battlefield has ever cut as deep as watching my wife be attacked in her own neighborhood. We will not let hate win, not here, not anywhere." Applause broke out. Even some neighbors who had been silent finally clapped, their guilt written across their faces. If you were in that neighborhood, would you finally stand up and speak against Karen, or stay silent like most did at first? Be honest, because silence can be just as loud as hate. Comment below. Karen's mugshot spread across the news. Her downfall was public, her power shattered. She was no longer feared. She was pitied, mocked, and despised. But still, Jasmine couldn't shake the feeling. Jasmine, to David that night, "She's gone for now. But what if she comes back? What if it's not really over?" David pulled her close, his voice calm and steady. "David, then we'll be ready? We've already won, because we didn't back down. And no matter what happens next, we'll always stand stronger than her hate." Jasmine closed her eyes, resting against him. For the first time in weeks, she felt safe enough to sleep. But across town, sitting in a cold holding cell, Karen glared at the wall. Her hands clenched, her mind racing. She whispered to herself in the dark, "Karen, this isn't the end. Not yet." A week had passed since Karen's arrest, but the ripple effects were still being felt across Maplewood Estates. The once quiet neighborhood was buzzing with conversations, at mailboxes, on porches, in driveways. Everyone had an opinion, but one thing was clear: the Carter family was no longer alone. Jasmine walked down the sidewalk, sunlight warming her face. For the first time in weeks, she wasn't looking over her shoulder. Neighbors who had once stayed silent now smiled at her, some even apologizing for not speaking up sooner. Mrs. Rodriguez stopped her by the garden. "Mrs. Rodriguez, see, mija? The truth always comes out. She wanted to break you, but you stood taller. Don't ever forget your strength." Jasmine smiled softly, though her heart still carried scars. "Jasmine, I just hope she can't hurt anyone else." Meanwhile, David had been in constant contact with the authorities. The case against Karen was strong. Video evidence, hate speech, vandalism, and assault. She faced multiple charges. But David wasn't after revenge, he wanted accountability. When the police officer updated him on the case, David asked just one question: David, will she be able to come near my wife again? The officer shook his head. Officer, no, Lieutenant. With the restraining order in place and these charges, she's done. David exhaled, finally letting go of the tension that had lived in his chest for weeks. The HOA board called another meeting, this time without Karen. Neighbors gathered in the clubhouse, their voices filled with regret and resolve. Board member, we let Karen go too far for too long. We gave her power because we were afraid to challenge her. That ends today. From now on, this neighborhood will not be run by fear. It will be run by fairness. The neighbors nodded. Jasmine felt tears sting her eyes, but this time they weren't from pain. They were from hope. When the board asked if anyone wanted to nominate a new president, voices rose from the room. Neighbor 101, I nominate Mrs. Rodriguez. Neighbor number 2, yes, someone who actually cares about people. Mrs. Rodriguez laughed, shaking her head. Mrs. Rodriguez, no, I'm too old for that. Then another voice called out. Neighbor number 3, what about Jasmine? She stood up when no one else would. She has the courage we need. Jasmine's eyes widened. She shook her head quickly. Jasmine, me? No, I couldn't. But David leaned down, whispering in her ear. David, why not? You're the strongest person I know. This is your chance to turn this place into what we dreamed it would be. The room filled with murmurs of agreement. Jasmine's hands trembled as she looked around. For weeks she had felt powerless. Now the community was asking her to lead. Slowly she stood. Her voice shook, but her words carried weight. Jasmine, I didn't come here to be a leader. I came here to build a home with my husband. But maybe that's exactly what leadership is. Not about power, not about control, but about protecting each other. If you want me, I'll do it. But I'll do it differently. The room erupted in applause. For the first time, Maplewood Estates had real hope for change. Later that night, Jasmine and David sat together on the porch. The air calm and still. The stars shone above them, brighter than they had in weeks. Jasmine, I still can't believe it. After everything, they want me to lead. David smiled, squeezing her hand. David, that's what happens when you refuse to break. You inspire people. You showed them what real strength looks like. Jasmine leaned her head on his shoulder, whispering, Jasmine, I just wanted peace. Maybe now we'll finally have it. David kissed her forehead. David, we will. Because hate may shout loud, but love always lasts longer. Across town, in a small courtroom, Karen sat in silence as the judge read the charges: assault, harassment, vandalism, hate crime. Her face was pale, her once sharp tongue silent. For the first time, Karen was powerless. The gavel slammed down. Judge, bail denied. Sentencing to follow. Her reign of fear was officially over. Stories like Jasmine and David's are not just fiction. They reflect real struggles happening every day. If you believe no one should face hate in their own home, share this story. Speak up. Because silence helps the bully, but your voice can help the victim. The Carters never forgot what happened. The scars were real, but so was their victory. In the end, they didn't just survive Karen, they transformed the neighborhood. From fear to fairness, from hate to hope. And as Jasmine stood at the next community barbecue, surrounded by laughter and smiles, she whispered to herself, Jasmine, this is what home is supposed to feel like. David wrapped his arm around her, smiling proudly. David, we made it, together. And this time, the neighborhood didn't just watch, they stood with them.